Hey y'all, so I'm back with a review of the Netflix documentary, A Toxic Love Story. And baby, that shit was toxic as hell. From the first scene, I knew it was gonna be on some bullshit. So when we talk about everything that's going on, there's like four main characters. One who's not really in the story, but three that are in the story. So we have Angela, Ian, Michelle, and Leslie. Ian is obviously the man in the situation. Angela is the current wife of Ian. Michelle is the ex-girlfriend of Ian, and Leslie is the best friend of Ian. So when it starts off with Leslie giving a little backstory, and she talked about how her and Ian had been friends for 20 years, and they were friends while they were working at Disney World. Ian now is a U.S. Marshal. Well, during the time that they're telling the story. So it opens with Ian and Angela. And the first scene, it has Angela, she's crying, talking to the police about how somebody had broken into the house and grabbed her behind the neck and was, going to try to rape her. I just immediately felt it was bullshit. I am, and this is no disrespect, I do be a little bit apprehensive when I see white women crying and they claim something happened to them. It's not personal, it's actually historical. Why sometimes I be like, you know what, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I do want some facts before I get emotionally invested. And this is not to say, oh, women be lying. It's just that, I just got to look at you kind of closely. But either way, it goes in telling the story how Angela and Ian are really a new couple, and the pace that both couples, Angela and Ian, and when Ian was with Michelle, the pace that they went into these relationships was crazy. It had only been, I think, a full 8 months for the whole duration of their relationship. And Ian and Angela were already living together, married, and allegedly expecting twins. I say allegedly because we find out later on that that wasn't the case. So Angela and Ian are claiming that she's being harassed by his ex-girlfriend, Michelle. And it all starts off with these emails coming from a username saying Lilith is truth. And Lilith is important because, in the biblical sense, Lilith is believed to be Adam's first wife. And the marriage did not last because she was not willing to listen to him. She was more defiant. And because of that, she has this reputation of being this like she devil. Like she's seen as this underworld of a female devil that is like kills newborn babies and stuff like that. And because she simply did not want to adhere to male authority. And I just think that's very interesting that once again, everything just goes back to trying to control and destroy the feminine. But as we press on, it's saying that Michelle is harassing Angela, sending all these threats, and it just escalates. First, it's emails, then succession of emails, texts saying, I know exactly what you were wearing. You were walking the dog. I know your schedule. To the point where now, allegedly, Michelle is putting ads on Craigslist for Angela to be raped in this like sexual rape fantasy, alleging that her fantasy is that she wants to be at home and be taken by this phantom man that comes in and breaks in and just takes it from her. Come and find out that is a sexual fantasy that's quite popular. And the police is there. They've been coming there multiple times through all the times that they've called the police and made reports. One thing I would say is that you just know, like, law enforcement is so incompetent. And I kind of feel like it's built into how law enforcement is supposed to structure. Like, incompetence is like a core pillar of the shit. Because what the fuck? It's like, don't nobody ask questions. It's like if you see two or three that puzzle pieces that go together, you like, yep, that's the whole puzzle. No, motherfucker, it's 1,000 piece. Go find the other 997 pieces. But either way, they're reporting these things, and Ian pretty much says that Michelle is mad that he's moved on. The condo that they live in, him and Michelle bought it together, and she's just jealous of him and Angela, and she is mentally unstable. She's deranged, and she's willing to off herself. And so the police at first were like, well, we can't really do nothing. Yes, she making threats, but we can't do nothing. So it just escalates. And then once there's an imminent threat of a rape, then they have to act. And that's when they arrest Michelle. Michelle gets locked up and her ass is thrown in jail. She is in there for some months. Of course, Michelle's family is like, y'all got the wrong person. My daughter would never do no shit like that. And so as the case is supposed to be investigated, Leslie comes and tells us that Ian claims that he got a call in the night, and Angela told him that the pregnancy is fake. The sonogram of the twin babies ain't real. And he's like, now I believe everything was fake. Everything from, the texting, the emails, the bullying, the rape fantasy, was it all make believe? And so we learn that allegedly Angela is behind making Michelle look as if she is this deranged woman that wants her man back. And Leslie claims that there was a time that Angela was asking how Michelle and Ian's relationship ended. And when she said that, she was like, well, she's just always going to be apart. She's always going to be, kind of like this rock in a hard place. And so it's presented as if Angela did this thing to Michelle to make sure that she would never be a problem in their relationship. Try to get rid of this lady. So we come to find out that actually Michelle is innocent. She was not behind any of those emails. Well, actually, Michelle did write 2 emails to Ian that were very angry and did kind of have a religious undertone, but we find out why later on. But through the investigation, they end up arresting Angela. She's tried and convicted. She gets 5 years in prison, and Michelle is exonerated. And so this is when we transition into seeing Michelle as the audience. Like, we get to view her and speak to her. And no lie, when we first see Michelle, she do look a bit touched. Her eyes are blinking rapidly. They're like wide open. She looks anxious. She looks nervous. She really looks like her nervous system is shot. She just looks like, oh my God, frantic. And so when she starts speaking, she says she thinks the media had a big part in the way that this case was not only handled, but how it was received. She was saying that they just wanted to run with like the crazy antic woman theme. And so when they ran with it, when they thought that she was, the one behind everything, it fit for her. And now she's not the person. She was actually innocent. So now they're going to put that same thing on Angela. But she was like, y'all are not investigating the real person at hand, which is Ian. However, before I get to Ian, we find out Angela, she on some fuck shit too, because Angela had a prior boyfriend who she had lied and said that she had stage 4 cervical cancer. And I'm like, well, damn, bitch, ain't you supposed to be like in hospice or something? I'm okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought stage 4 was like, you close to the end. Not saying that you can't come back, but you kind of knocking at heaven's door a little bit. But the boyfriend that she was with, she would never want this man to come to the doctor's appointment with her, and he thought that was strange until one day he was like, "No, I'm going with you." And so they go to the doctor's office, but she doesn't want him to go in the back with her, with the actual doctor. And he was like, he's sitting there in the waiting room, and he was like, something feels off. He goes up to the receptionist and he asks what type of cancer treatment center this is, and she let him know, homeboy, your girlfriend here to get a mole removed. So pretty much it sounds like a plastic surgery place. And he like, huh? So he confronts her, and she's like, yeah, the mole was cancerous. And he like, no, bitch, quit playing with me. She wearing little hats. One of his friends that she became friends with through him cut her own hair in support of her thinking she got cancer. And she was like, bitch, you got more hair than me. And they end up like, he ends up doing this intervention where he confronts her, him and the friend, and she like, show your reports, because she's supposed to have cancer, and doing this chemo treatment, she done sent him pictures of like her POV of doing chemo. Come to find out, it's a Google image. This lady is lying. So she's now with Ian. So being that Ian is a U.S. Marshal, I believe that there's some type of, I would say, due diligence that the Department of Justice is supposed to investigate any type of case that they are involved in. I guess if it goes to court and there's someone held liable. So the man who's investigating, he got the evidence from Anaheim Police Department. Yes, this is happening in Anaheim, California. Anaheim Police Department, he gets the body footage and the body footage and all the emails and pretty much all the evidence that they use for the case against Angela. And he going through it, he's listening to it, he's reading it, and he's like, something is off. And he was saying that in the videos, you could tell that Ian is kind of leading Angela in what to say about the alleged emails from Michelle. And he also said there was an instance when Angela was attacked, when she was allegedly attacked, from when we saw at the beginning of the documentary, when allegedly somebody was coming, take her goods. There was a man that actually responded to the Craigslist ad. His name was Rick, and he was coming to fulfill the fantasy. He himself said that he didn't do it because when he walked up on the door, the security code thing had a man's name. He was like, I ain't trying to get popped if your husband or your boyfriend at home. And so he left. And so Ian mentions that, and he was like, he was corresponding with the guy, and he was like, well, I left the gate open and I left the door open, so if he came in here, I wouldn't shoot him, but I would just, apprehend him until y'all got here. And he was like, that doesn't make sense, because if you as a husband know that there's a man coming to your house to rape your wife, why would you leave access? Why would you have the access open for him to make it into the house? And he was saying also that Ian was just speaking so nasty. Like he just had just so vehemently nasty about Michelle. And I guess from the beginning it would make sense because it's made to seem as if she's bothering them. But he's like, no, it's more to that story. Come to find out, we start speaking more with Michelle, and we learned that she was very sheltered. She didn't have much of really any relationship experiences prior to getting with Ian. And when she got with Ian, it was like a whirlwind romance. And when you say whirlwind now, it just further drives home to me that the way that relationships are set up, and a lot of times how men and women are supposed to interact in romantic relationships, is supposed to set the stage that one person is like always off kilter and not able to respond with their right and sane mind. Because if everything is a whirlwind and you're getting caught up in it, you can't even put your feet on solid ground and be like, wait a minute. Because everything is moving so fast. So it's to get you to move so fast into some shit, and you don't realize what the hell you wet till it's too late. But either way, she was like, they were moving pretty fast. They had did a romantic getaway in New York for the holidays. And she didn't say she was a virgin, but I kind of wonder had she had any sexual encounters prior to him, because the way she went head in, she put the down payment on the fucking condo. She used up all her savings to pay for that condo, and he was just supposed to pay the mortgage. I said, bitch, what? No. How you paying for this motherfucker have somewhere to stay? Oh, hell no. Bitch, please. So I was like, he pimping this girl already. And she was like, once they got into the condo, the relationship changed. He became extremely abusive, like emotionally, verbally, and I would say even sexually, because he coerced her into having sex with another man, because he kept telling her that was a fantasy of his to watch her have sex with another man. And she didn't want to do it, But when she said she felt as if, as you know, a woman, there's just some things that she thought at the time, some things you just have to accept to pretty much keep your man. I was like, damn, girl, I don't know where your self esteem was at, but my goodness. Whoo. But when she's talking about her relationship and the abuse escalating, it got to the point when he had security cameras in the house watching her in the kitchen. She said that one time they were in the car, he floored it and got on the highway and then smashed on brakes, told her to get the fuck out the car. Then when she's going to get out the car, he reaches over, closes the door, and says, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, it's almost like he was intent on breaking this woman down mentally. And with him being a U.S. Marshal, he knew how to use that influence. Even the investigator who was investigating the case was saying he used the influence of being a U.S. Marshal to kind of guide the police and how they were going to pretty much operate how they were going to do the operation and handle the evidence. And I was like, another thing you miss a homeboy is that he's white. He used his white privilege and his privilege of being a U.S. Marshal, because I'm pretty sure because they came in and saw he was a white man, they were like, oh, he's one of us. We don't have to do too much. And he was kind of like, he pretty much said that. He was leading with, oh, I'm one of y'all. He was always, like throwing his badge on the table, showing his gun as if he was, about to go out and figure out what was going on. Like get the perimeter of the house. Motherfucker, you ain't slick. And pretty much Michelle, going back to what Michelle was talking about, she was saying how she was having such a mental breakdown. At one time, she literally did have a nervous breakdown. She got in the car and drove for like 24 hours. She ended up in this field where she was just wandering around, and this family found her. Come to find out, her ass was all the way in Arizona. I was like, girl, did you black out and just start driving? Because I'm thinking, bitch, I know you had to get out the car to get some more gas. What was you doing at the pump? I'm not saying like, oh, she did, like she wrong, but I'm just like, wow, this woman really did have a mental break. And you can still kind of see it in her. Like this whole debacle really has fucked her up. And not saying that she's still fucked up. You could just tell that this was traumatic for her. And I'm gonna fast forward. We end up where we find out that Ian was actually behind everything. Through the digital evidence, the investigator was able to find that Ian was on his work computer, dumbass motherfucker, on his work computer using his own personal email account, logging into the Lilith is Truth, and then corresponding with people who replied to the rape fantasy. Because even the guy Rick who answered to the ad, he was like, once he answered to it, whoever was behind it seemed very anxious to get it done. He was like, to the point that when he was wanting to get it done, he was like, I need to voice verify to make sure it's for real. And come to find out, Ian was behind every fucking thing. Him and Angela were in cahoots. And the officer on duty who investigated feels as if he did it because he really wanted to control Michelle. He was pissed that she got away, because when she finally left, she went back to her parents' house and he was lighting her damn line up. And he was like, why he thinks Angela went along with it was she was desperate to have empathy from other people. Like she wanted to be a victim, as we seen what she did with the cancer lie. I'm like, no, this bitch is a scammer. Just like Ian in a way. Because he scammed baby girl out that condo. That's another thing. While she was locked up doing a bid for some shit she did not do, that motherfucker sold the condo, got her down payment back, and she didn't get shit from that condo. I was like, oh my, pimp that girl. I was like, Lord Jesus, that's just god awful. And that shit really was a toxic love story, because it's like, what are the odds that two crazy scamming motherfuckers can come together and do this whole shebang on this random person, but not really random because he was with her before, and like the shit be believed. And that was another thing. It kind of made me feel like, you know what is holding you back from just going against the grain one time? I'm like, you know what? I ain't trying to be made an example of. I ain't doing no bid. Listen, orange look good on me, but not in no jumpsuit like that. What a zipper is up the front? No, no. With the correction sign on the back? Absolutely not. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But I was just like, oh my goodness. And the friend Leslie, the deputy kind of called her out. He was like, I think she's in love with Ian, and that's why she doesn't want to believe that he did it. And Leslie is kind of still stuck on believing that Angela did it. And I'm like, of course. You would be stuck on the woman doing everything because you don't want to believe that this man that you probably have secretly been in a love affair relationship with in your mind the whole 20 years y'all been friends don't want you, don't see you that way, and you don't want to admit that yeah, he on some fuck shit. Because in your mind, you probably still wanted him. But with Michelle, because we find out that she is back dating and she met someone, she has a daughter now, and her daughter was born on the day that Ian was convicted. It just gives that I hope that she is still getting the help, like literally professional help to help her through this process, because I hope that she didn't go into motherhood thinking that this was going to solve and heal everything that happened to her before. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that she's not a good mama, but I was like, you don't need to put that type of weight on your baby. And them other motherfuckers, and then all the relationships kept moving so fast, and everything that she was willing to give up and to do, like this man wanted her to start dressing the way that he wanted her to dress. And it's like, my God, the things that women are taught and expected to do and to give up just to be in a relationship that will literally end up killing you in the end, whether it's actually physically or whether it's emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It's like you really are tricked into being like the orchestrator of your own demise. It's crazy as hell. But yes, this was a toxic ass love story. Fucked up from top to bottom. And I knew that bitch was lying from the first scene. I was like, I don't trust it. And that's another thing. Bitch was supposed to be pregnant with twins. What never showing. When we was watching it, me and my sister, when we was watching it, I was like, ain't Angela supposed to be pregnant? I don't see no little bump under that little flannel shirt. And I was like, maybe she early on in the pregnancy, but damn, especially when you pregnant with twins, you start showing early. I knew that bitch was lying. I knew that bitch was lying. Show your ports.